And now, the survival show that once survived the Great Flu of 2017. In this episode, we go back to basics and discuss bags for survival. They're often misunderstood and a staple of preparedness, so what's a prepper to do? Howdy and welcome to In the Rabbit Hole's Urban Survival Podcast. This is episode number 208. I'm your host, Aaron, and you are in the rabbit hole, safe and sound. Today's episode is going to be a short one. I do, in fact, have the flu. I was playing dodgeball with it here for about a month, but it finally caught up to me. But I didn't want to leave y'all with nothing this week, so just want you to know this is the suffering and the pain that I go through for y'all. We haven't done a Back to Basics show in a long time, and I think it's very easy for any show that is a niche show, especially prepper shows, to get off into the philosophical, off into the weeds and things, and forget that new people come into this all the time and need a refresher, or need a good starting place, I should say. It is also a favorite topic of preppers in general. I think as people are into preparedness, I don't think it matters how long they're in there. We still tend to fuss and think of our bags. Let's start with bug-out bags. Bug-out bags are the most problematic of all the bags that preppers tend to build. It's the first bag that preppers build. And the reality is, in a lot of ways, it is the bag you are least likely to ever need. And it is, the other big problem is that people build these bags, one, they're new preppers. So they're usually coming into this freaked out about something. And they build a bag for the zombie apocalypse. They build a bag for running off to the woods, even though maybe they have no woods experience or something like that. But really, these bags should be built from a very basic standpoint. And the best way to think of it is to think of it as a bag that if for some reason you needed to leave your house, this is the bag you could pick up and walk out the door with in, say, under a few minutes and go, I don't know, an hour's drive in some direction and stay at a hotel and be okay there for 3 days. And plan on something could happen and maybe the hotel loses power for some reason or another. What really ends up happening most of the time when I hear that people used their bug-out bag, it was because a family member or somebody ended up in the hospital and they needed to quickly grab a bag and join that family member for a couple of days at the hospital. Of all the times I've ever heard of anyone using their bag, I think every single time I've heard of it, that was it. So yeah, no zombie apocalypse, no zombie platypuses, no roving hordes of fun, mischief, and mayhem, and nothing. It's just, this is the least likely bag that you will touch. And as a matter of fact, mine, other than when I pull it down and reconfigure it on a somewhat pseudo-regular basis, I never have touched mine for anything. I think I've used mine for camping once or twice, and that was about it. So, but it is an important bag, and it does merit some attention, and it does merit building, just not coated in Molly and covered in AR-15 magazines with some sort of crazy survival rifle strapped to the side of it or something. That's not what it is. And, let's just, a few things to think about before we get into the items themselves. This bag should not look like you're storming a castle. If it does, you're probably doing it wrong. You should be able to make a trip around your neighborhood block without dying of exhaustion. If your bag is weighing in at 80 pounds or something, you're probably doing it wrong. If you can't walk around the block with this bag and not raise alarm bells with your neighbors, you probably built it wrong. So with that, let's talk about some common things. What kind of things should go in here? And this is by no means an exhaustive list. This is just a light suggestion list. And we'll start with 2 to 3 sets of clothing. I typically leave out a pair of pants. I find that pants tend to be the most bulky. So I go with, well, I do have 3 sets of socks and underwear and t-shirts and long sleeve shirts and things like that. I usually just throw in 2 pairs of pants in there. Maybe I'm just nasty. I don't know. The other thing is a good pair of work gloves. I like the mechanics gloves. I like the pig gloves. The pig gloves are actually my favorite. A way to store 1 to 2 liters of water, a way to purify water, that could be tablets or a filter of some kind, a flashlight, and extra batteries, and the batteries should not be stored in the flashlight so that you don't get corrosion and bleeding and other things like that. I would also put the batteries in some sort of, they make plastic caddies. I'm a big fan of those. They're like $3 to $5, and they do a good job of keeping your batteries from being just loose and from connecting with anything. And then I throw that inside a Ziploc bag in case somehow they do corrode or something weird happens. A phone charger, so like one of those emergency backup batteries, and charging cables. An extra credit card and cash, some sort of like a lighter and matches of some kind, a small first aid kit, and the first aid kit should not be one of these insane first aid kits. Really, your first aid kit should match your experience level. And if you say, I have no experience level, that should be a big indicator that you need to go take a first aid, CPR, and trauma class of some sort. You don't have to go become an EMT or a paramedic or a doctor, but you should have some basic emergency medical skills. A pack of important papers and copies of identification in a watertight bag, a multi-tool, and duct tape. And you can go on from there with whatever you want. I also include moleskins in all of my first aid kits that I have everywhere, where I may end up needing them when out and about. Moleskins are, think of it as first aid for blisters. And they help protect it and allow you to keep walking if need be. And that is it. That is, you should not obsess and freak out over this bag. Again, you are likely to never use it. I hate to break it to you, but it's unlikely. The trouble is, it's one of those things that, like a gun or any other protection, when you need it, you need it. And you'll be really glad you had it. And actually, again, going back to the few times I have heard of people using theirs where they have written into the show and said, here's what happened and everything else, they were really glad they had that bag. It made life so much more simple. The big thing is that they didn't have to think about what they needed and think about where things were and worry about forgetting something when they were in a situation where they needed to leave the house. Because if you need to leave the house in one of these situations, you are going to be doing it under stress and under some sort of emotional duress. I can tell you now, if for some reason I needed to leave the house in under an hour, I cannot think of a situation where it would not be stressful. Something has happened to one of my close friends and I need to go to their aid. That would be stressful. I'm worried about them. Or if I need to go to visit somebody in the hospital or something like that, that's going to be stressful. So really what you end up doing, because a lot of people, why do you need that? You're just really, it's a stress reliever more than anything. That's why we prepare in general, right? One is to stay alive, of course. The other one is to reduce stress and concern about, because if you're listening to this show, you have come to the mindset that shit happens and it tends to not call ahead and make an appointment, right? And now for a quick break. Listeners, do you get at least $3 a month worth of value out of ITRH? we'd love to give you more. Visit itrh.net to find out about membership benefits. For starters, members get access to every episode ever produced and a monthly virtual conference. That's just for starters. And it's important to note, In the Rabbit Hole is supported nearly entirely by Roving Horde Armada members, just like you. That's how we pay the bills, stay on the air, keep the lights on around here. So go to itrh.net to learn how you can become part of the ITRH Roving Horde Armada. Next up, subscribe to the show through your favorite podcast app to make sure you never miss an episode by going to intherabbithole.com/iTunes or intherabbithole.com/Stitcher or intherabbithole.com/iHeartRadio or intherabbithole.com/Google Play. Or if you are one of those weirdos who listen to the show through YouTube, you can go to intherabbithole.com/YouTube because you know what? We support weirdos. However weird you want to be, we're all about that. Now, back to the show. So the next bag in the trio of bags would be a car bag. And the way I think of car bags is they're a mini bug out bag. And instead of being a bug out bag, really what they are is a get home bag, right? Your car breaks down somewhere or something happens and you get stuck in your car for 24 hours. That's how I think of them. And so they end up being very much like a mini bug out bag. And this is, think of it, some of the constraints would be to think of it as if you were going to put this on your back and walk home. And that walk was going to be, an hour walk, or maybe it's a half a day walk, or maybe it's a whole day walk. But you think of it that way. Maybe you carry, an extra pair of clothes in there. Carry another pair of gloves in there, a good pair of mechanic gloves or something like that, if you needed to do something to your car, you have protection for your hands. One thing that I typically see get overlooked, and it's something that I keep in mind, is an extra pair of shoes. Because, sometimes we go do nice things, or some of us have office jobs where we wear nice shoes. And in all of those cases, it would really suck to walk home in a pair of dress shoes, right? No matter how far away you are. I also carry an extra pair of tennis shoes for my wife, who is usually in tennis shoes. Fortunately, she has a job where she, I guess both fortunately and unfortunately, because she has a giant tennis shoe collection that just seems to keep growing. But anyway, point being, not to get off on a tangent about my wife's tennis shoes, but anyway, so I keep an extra pair of tennis shoes for her in my car. Really, in my vehicle, I keep a set of everything for the two of us, and that is another thing that to keep into account. You may not be the only person in your car. If you have a loved one, somebody who's in your car often, or just a spouse, make sure that you make provisions for them too. Because guess what? Their car bag is in their car, not your car. So your bag needs to accommodate both of you. Anyway, the other thing that is outside the necessary norm of a bug out bag would be to include an extra map of the area that you're in. And again, moleskins, because you may be walking. I find that the long, skinny, rectangular bags, they tend to be you can get expensive ones, but they tend to be rather inexpensive. And they are actually designed, and I can't remember who they were designed. I think pilots use them as bailout bags. I find those to fit just enough stuff, but to also constrain me from carrying everything, including the kitchen sink, or at least trying to, in my car bag. And they tend to be about 7 inches, somewhere 8 to 6 inches, kind of in a long rectangular tube, or not really tube, rectangular tube. What am I talking about here? Square, long, rectangular bag. Yeah, that's where I'm going with this. Sorry, kids. Lots of head cold medication here. And they fit under the seat. That's where I'm trying to go with this. They fit under the seat well. Anyway, and that is really kind of it for that. Keep it simple. Now, an EDC bag is the bag that I would actually suggest you spend the most time thinking about because it is the bag that you are going to use the most often. It is going to be the bag that you have with you all the time, hopefully. And it is going to be the bag that you can carry the least amount of crap in. So you have to choose wisely. This is probably a bag that it's not a dedicated survival bag. You've probably got to carry other things like a laptop or important paperwork to and from the office or whatever. So again, space is going to be at a premium in this bag. I'm going to list off a lot of stuff, but most of these things are pretty small. And just think of this as also, because some of these things are going to sound very random, and they are because you have random needs throughout the day. Think of this as a bag that you could use. This is, again, not an apocalypse bag. This is a bag to facilitate your needs if you were stuck somewhere for 24 hours. And that can just be a nasty weather storm or something, and you get stuck at the office for 24 hours. Or it could be something where you're in a mall and there's an active shooter situation and you're hopefully not actually in the situation, but you're not able to get out of the area and you're stuck there for 24 hours. So think of it like that. And with that in mind, I like to keep a water bottle. I don't use the Nalgene bottles. I find that they're a little too small, and I drink a lot of water during the day. So I have found there are a few, I'm not going to call out any specific water companies, but I find that a lot of the companies are starting to make these 1.5 liter water bottles, which to me is perfect because I think 1 liter isn't quite enough and 2 liters is too big. I find that 1.5 seems to be really great for carrying around water. It ends up being about, 50 ounces. I've got one here on my desk. So I carry a water bottle. I do also carry some purification tablets, just in case, of course. Again, some sort of emergency money pack. That can be a credit card and cash or whatever you want that to be. I do find carrying cash in that bag comes in very handy. It makes a nice supplement to the little bit that I keep in my wallet. And there have been instances where it's like, oh, I need a little extra cash. Or situations where the wife has taken cash out of my wallet. Either by hook or by crook, and I have found myself somewhere without cash, needing cash, and yet it's in my bag. The next thing I do is I keep a notepad, and I keep a Write in the Rain notepad, and I've gone and written in permanent marker on the cover a note for that this has got emergency contacts in it, and I basically write out like an old school little phone book on the first page listing all contact numbers, basically my top 10 emergency contact numbers, what their relationship is to me. So it's just like, mom, and then her telephone number, wife, telephone number, dad, brother, few friends in different areas of law enforcement. Should I need a contact within that agency for some reason, and just really close friends, numbers that I would really want to have in case, my phone got damaged or something like that. Keep a pair of gloves. I'm big on gloves, as you can tell. A handkerchief, a small first aid kit that also includes lip balm and dental floss. Yes, plenty of times I've been out enough and gotten stuff jammed in my teeth, and it's like one of the most annoying things. So I carry dental floss in there too. And if you need a little bit of, twine or rope or something to tie things together, dental floss can do in a pinch. Moleskins, of course, again. A small packet of wet wipes. Emergency sleeping bag. The Mylar emergency sleeping bags are like $2. They pack up really small, and when you're cold, you're cold. So you never know. I've never had to use one, but if I do, there it is. I also keep a multi-tool. I prefer the Leatherman, but I know those are kind of pricey for some people. But so, whatever you can afford. A backup battery and charging cables and an extra USB car cigarette lighter adapter. A lot of people don't think of those. In my bag specifically, I don't necessarily recommend this. You do have to check your laws, and I have to say this every single time I talk about this. Because I don't want someone to email me that they went to jail for something dumb. I have a pair of lockpicks in my bag. I do not keep a big, extensive pack of lockpicks. In fact, I have never found the need for more than a simple hook and a rake and then a tension wrench. I don't use, I have one of those great big kits. I never use it. I always use the very simple, I use the Bogata sear picks, which are pretty cool. They're both a pick and a tension wrench. Each one is. Anyway, I keep those in my bag. I do have to use them on occasion. I keep hearing protection in my bag. I keep that because, well, I'm very serious about protecting my hearing. I already have tinnitus and I don't want it to get worse. And if I need them, I want them available to me. And I have gotten to the range enough times, and for whatever reason, my hearing protection is not in my range bag. And boom, I pull them out of my EDC bag. I carry 2 extra pistol magazines because I do not carry them on my person, and I don't particularly want to carry them on my person. Some people are very adamant about carrying them on their person or carrying them at all. So I carry them. I just don't carry them on my person. I carry a signal mirror because at the end of the day, I am a prepper. And I also carry an extra locking blade knife and a map of the area. So that is a basic suggestion. Again, I would focus most of my time on my EDC bag. I would get the other 2 bags out of the way, but I would really focus on the EDC bag and customize yours to your liking in your area. You may find, I know I've left some stuff out of the quick list I gave you, but really ought to think long and hard about what's in that bag. Again, it is the bag you will use most often, and it is the bag most likely to be with you if there is some sort of emergency. And with that, I am losing my voice here. I would love to go on into a longer, more entertaining show about playing with our bags, but that's all my voice has got in it today. Before we close out here, consider supporting the show. Visit itrh.net to become part of the ITRH Roving Horde Armada. You get cool membership benefits, and of course, you help the show stay safe and sound. That helps you keep safe and sound. With that, we wrap up episode 208 from the Lone Star State. Till next time, stay safe and sound.